Now to Ottawa, where Prime Minister Justin Trudeau met with re-elected and defeated Liberal MPs. As he headed into the session, he said they'll be reflecting on the message voters gave his government, which went from a majority to a minority. He plans to lead the party in the next election whenever that comes. The Liberals failed to win seats in Alberta and Saskatchewan, and Trudeau was asked about Western alienation.
That continues to be a significant issue that we're talking about, that I've been reaching out to premiers, to mayors, to business leaders, to colleagues and former colleagues on. There's a lot of work to do to make sure that we're governing for the entire country.
Joining us now is Michael Geoghegan. He is a political analyst and joins us from Williams Lake, BC. Michael, great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
So, Michael, what do you think that today's Liberal caucus meeting is all about?
Well, I think they're going to be laying out how they wish to proceed. First of all, Trudeau has talked about not having some kind of formal coalition arrangement with the NDP or the Bloc Québécois, but seems to be suggesting it's going to be on a more case-by-case basis. So I think they're going to be laying out what that looks like in terms of the way they're whipping the House. But I suspect there's also going to be some pushback from caucus itself saying, hey, we want to see more in the way of, if we're going to go on a case-by-case basis, we want to see more in the way of free votes, that sort of thing, a little more discussion and consultation with us as caucus as well.
Right, because there was some criticism about Trudeau's communication style in the previous parliament. Do you believe we're going to see a change on that front?
Well, yeah. If they're smart, PMO is smart, then absolutely, it's going to be less Disney prince and more consultative with the caucus. And obviously, you don't want to see the kind of things blow up that happened before the last election with SNC-Lavalin and Jody Wilson and another cabinet minister suddenly, departing and then being booted out of caucus. There's going to have to be better communication.
Right. And how much do you believe that the Western alienation, as we're calling it now, is factoring into today's meeting?
I think it's a serious issue. I think it's one that we ignore at our peril. And I think the fact that he is consulting with premiers and mayors, et cetera, is a good thing. But the Liberals have tried to depoliticize, in some ways, the Senate. So the old school method of appointing a senator from that area and putting them in cabinet doesn't seem to be an option that's open to them anymore. So it's going to be interesting to see how they work around this. But certainly there's going to be a lot of pressure on Trudeau to go ahead with some kind of pipeline to allow Alberta to get its oil to market, because without that, he knows this Wexit momentum is going to continue.
What are some of the other changes you think Liberal members, caucus members, are expecting from their leader?
Well, like I said before, I think they're expecting more in the way of consultation. I think they're going to expect less in the way of whipped votes and more in the way of free votes. And I also think they're going to be looking at more in the way of, private members' bills, et cetera, actually being seriously reviewed and the points being brought forward, given greater consideration rather than short shrift. So I think there'll be a little bit of back and forth bargaining in this.
No, the Liberals are not expected to discuss Trudeau's leadership today. Why is that?
Well, of course, it was interesting how earlier this year, suddenly there was Liberal insiders talking about Mark Carney, and there was certainly one rumor going around that if Trudeau had won a majority, that there would have been some kind of transition plan for Trudeau to leave, and Mark Carney, who was the Governor of Bank of Canada, now the Governor of Bank of England, coming sort of the new Prime Minister. But anyway, given that it's a minority government, these rumors notwithstanding, it's going to be a delicate time for Trudeau. He recognizes that although he was the great savior of the Liberal Party in the previous election, in this one they're down to a minority and they have to restore their credibility. That also means Trudeau restoring his credibility. He has to come across as a more serious, more engaged Prime Minister and less of a dilettante.
Now, Michael, just one final thing here, only a few seconds, but Trudeau is set to hold one-on-one meetings with each of the opposition leaders. What do you think we're going to see from those meetings?
I think there's going to be a discussion about what those opposition leaders, what their priorities are. If he's going to get a pipeline built, the only party he can do that deal with is the Conservatives. There's going to be other issues where the only way he can get those things through, he's going to have to work with the NDP or the Bloc Québécois. But what are those parties going to want in return? So there's going to be, I suspect, the beginning of some discussion to see whether or not horse trading is possible, and if so, on what basis.
Okay, we do have to leave it there. Michael Geoghegan, thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome.